And welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Trades HQ podcast. My name is Michael Cipes, and you can find me on Twitter at FFBlitz. And I'm here with my partners, Jeremy Browand
at Dynasty Madness. I'm eating pretzels.
And Shane Manila.
Hi.
I'm just cracking up because
I started working from home. And,
there we go. Never mind.
Yeah, so I got a tablet from my work, and it's just not very it's more frustrating than being at work. I honestly at one point today, about an hour into pounding, my third email out that would have taken me 30 seconds on a keyboard and an actual computer. I'm like, I should just go. Like, no one can stop me.
Is that what you're doing now? You have to work on a tablet?
Yeah, I'm working from home on a tablet. I mean, it was all. Obviously, like most places, it was kind of a last minute, all right, I guess this is going to kill the whole country. We should probably not go to work.
Oh, God.
Yeah, stay home.
Yeah, just right before we did this, Karen was on a Zoom chat with a whole bunch of the teachers. So she was on a live thing with 14 different teachers. And I was like, we're getting ready to do a show. I'm going to need the internet. So she wrapped up her speech with all those people. But it's kind of cool. Michael Jr.'s class tested something that had 52 people on the screen at once.
Yeah, my kids are handling it surprisingly well. Every week they just started, but each week they're going to have an hour where they meet with their classroom, Google Hangouts. They have meetings each week with their teacher for 15 minutes. They get up in the morning, and by 8:30 they've started on stuff, and they've set up their own schedules to include all these things with my wife, and they have phys ed, gym built into it, and recess and all these different things, and they get everything done by 2 p.m. Yeah. And they're all excited. I mean, they're handling it better than everybody I know.
Everybody
the kids are fine, dude. They like it, and they're getting their work done, and they're doing well. It's interesting to me.
They all look like they're doing a podcast. Everybody.
Yeah. No, I mean, kids are more resilient than us. They're more easily adaptable. It's just funny because it's now the kids have distance learning. So basically, their school is going to be like how not Michael, because he didn't have computers, but how I finished up college. My last 4 courses, I believe, were all online, and now that's just going to be how it is all the time anyway. So anyway, who cares? Enough about the coronavirus. It's almost over, I was told by Trump, so we're fine.
Oh yeah,
it's almost over.
Sounds great. Yeah, well, it's so funny because with the way everything's going, it's everything around the world seems to be shut down for the most part, but the NFL keeps going. We had free agency, all those people, all these players signed with all these teams. Then today they announced we're going forward with the draft. So the draft is definitely happening. So they're trying to keep it going for as much as they can. And just like us, we're trying to keep the shows going too. And tonight we have a great guest, right? We have Scott Fish on, right, Jeremy?
Mr. Fishbowl himself, the captain of Devy. Yeah, he's coming on the show here in a mere few minutes. Excited to talk to him.
Captain of Devy? I've never heard that.
Well, he's one of the.
You just make that up?
No, man. I mean, I don't know what to call him, but he's like the dad of Devy, I guess you could say. He was one of the first people to start Devy leagues, formally, and then on Twitter and all that. So definitely want to ask him about that and how things have changed. But yeah, the dad of Devy. I thought everybody knew that. Even more so than Dynasty. Yeah, he's the college player guy,
Yeah, I personally, I've never heard of him. So
I'm wearing a shirt that has his name on it, so
Yeah, I am too, and I realized it and turned it inside out so we don't look like stalkers.
Oh, I don't care.
I wore my favorite baseball.
So let's get him on here because there's no news that we really want to talk about.
Mike brought up the only thing, and that's that the NFL is holding the draft, and that's great because until players need to actually compete against each other and do those kinds of things, the NFL, that's the billions of dollars. They're not going to willingly stop that show. It's going to keep running until the very last damn minute.
Yeah,
I hope they play in empty stadiums. I don't care. Just play.
Yeah, the WWE is doing the same thing where they're doing their wrestling every single week without crowds, in a performance center with empty seats. But the show must go on. All right, well, cool. Well, speaking of show going on, why don't we get Scott? So why don't you dial him up and we'll get him in the room.
You got it.
Hey, Shane, while we're waiting for him, do you want to tell everybody about our Patreon?
Hey, we have a Patreon page, and now I'm working on target share or targets. Just looking at raw targets going back to the 2014 season. I don't know how many years that is. Was that 5? 2014,
no,
15,
6.
16, 17, 18.
This is 2020.
Season.
This is 20.
Yeah. So I put that out for our patrons. Just looking at so far, I just looked at the top 24 target leaders. And then I'm mixing some of the remaining 24, get the bottom 48, just trying to get an idea of if targets are going up or not. But
Good work, man.
Or going down. Or are they being spread out evenly? It's all a mystery.
All right, so I'm going to drag you back in. I'm going to drag you back in and tell everybody about being a patron.
Oh yeah, go become a patron because I put that out. I did some running back stuff. We got the extra podcast that we do for the patron listeners, the Uncensored Show, which everyone tells me is kind of like. So like a lot of when you're younger, you're like, oh, sex with condoms is awful, but then you have it without the condom, and you're like, this is so much better. That's what everyone tells me about the patron version of the show.
That's because that's what the patrons get to hear, not everybody else.
Yeah, they said it's like when you sneak the condom off and
oh my god.
Tell her.
Well,
I'm married, so I'm just saying.
I'm very glad that we don't have a pre-recorded thing for the Patreon because you never know what Shane's going to say when he promotes it. So, all right, let's get Scott in the room and let's go on with the show.
Scott,
there he is.
Where'd you get that
Twinsies.
t-shirt, man?
Twinsies.
Oh, wait. So
Very nice.
I love that shirt.
I got this
I
one.
like that Disney one, man. I wish we could get more.
This was my favorite shirt. For the last couple of years going to all those conventions, we talked about it that one time, you and I wear this shirt every single time I go on a plane. Every single plane flight, I wear this shirt. I wish you'd do this shirt again.
We actually wanted to do that shirt the next year. Not like we wanted to have it available for people the next year, and we couldn't find the same castle. Like we don't even know where we got that castle image.
Oh, really?
So we were unable to. No, it's a fake one, so we wouldn't get sued.
Well, you know what's funny? I
just
want the shirt. You didn't do another hoodie for 8, 9, and are you going to do one for 10? Because I just want the hoodie. This is a great shirt.
That is a good point. We should do hoodies next year. What am I thinking?
T-shirt, yeah.
Last year, I even sent you a message. I was like, I'm waiting to buy my hoodie. You're like, oh, we're not doing them this year.
Yeah, I'll have to get with RotoWear a little early on that on this year's. Man, that's a good idea.
So, I mean, I don't want you to put any secrets out there, but what's the Scott Fishbowl going to look like non-football?
Wait a second. We started right into the show without introducing him. Let's tell everybody. I mean, obviously everybody knows who Scott is, but hey, Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys? It's good to know we're live. No, I didn't say anything.
No, we're actually not live, but
just audio.
Just audio. But Shane just started going right into the questions.
Even record this. This is for our own weird.
Yeah, this is just we're hanging out. But no, seriously, we are recording. So for the couple of people out there that may not know where to find you, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter and the internet?
At ScottFish24 is where I'm on Twitter. My work, my job is radio. I do a nationally syndicated radio show on iHeartRadio, a podcast iHeart, and in a bunch of cities called Fantasy Football Weekly. It's with Paul Charchian. Then my day job is running leagues for Safe Leagues. Safe Leagues is a company I run that we run legal fantasy contests, mostly Dynasty, but lots of other stuff.
Well, all of that works right into the question that Shane was trying to ask you before we officially introduced you. So, Shane, go ahead. Ask him the question you were going to ask because it goes along with what he does.
Once we live in the hellscape of, after this society has collapsed and there is no NFL, what is the Scott Fishbowl going to look like next year? This year?
I don't even know. I don't even know how to deal with this in any league perspective if there's no football season. I mean, just think about all the rookie drafts we're having right now. How do we even determine the 2021 rookie draft? Do we give the worst team like 2 years of first round picks or
right?
I don't even want to think about it not working out where the NFL gets canceled later this year. That's just too scary of a thought for me.
We're going to end up going on Fantasy Pros, ranking everyone's team, and then just going, all right, that's the draft order, guys. Sorry.
Madden simulations throughout.
Yeah, exactly. Lord. They did announce today that the NFL is going forward with the draft, so we're definitely going to have the draft at least. But yeah, with the way everything goes, maybe I just don't want to think about the season being canceled.
Honestly, the way everything goes, isn't this like perfect for the NFL? Like it feels to me that everything's going to be canceled right up to the NFL, and the NFL will be the return of sports,
right?
And it's going to be bigger than ever. Like if you maybe the NFL planted this virus and that was their plan the whole time.
Engineered and planted it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say that's crazy talk. I'm definitely gonna tweet that out tonight. Scott Fish says inside sources have told him the NFL created the coronavirus.
Well, Goodell, what cracks me up about Goodell's memo is he told teams they should be doing the necessary planning to conduct draft operations in a location outside of your facility with a limited number of people present. So, keep that social distancing going. But that's just funny. I mean, I don't know.
The Scott Fish Bowl is going to be basically like a real live Hunger Games.
It's not going
to be like that map. We're going to literally draft real humans against each other.
We can't even do like a TV thing or something. I know, Scott, you've done some like polls with TV shows and stuff because all the TV, they're all the productions shut down. There's no new shows being produced, so you can't even use that. Really, the only two sports wrestling and football are like the only two that are even still going on. And football
stuff in Russia.
What?
Russia refuses to acknowledge the coronavirus. We should have tried
they don't
that
believe it exists.
Yeah, they go, no, niet. This is not real.
Wait a second. So if there's Russian sports, there you go, Scott. That's what we'll do for the fishbowl.
There we go. We can't even do Olympics. That's going to be possible now too.
Yeah, so cancel everything.
So obviously, none of us want it to be canceled, and hopefully it doesn't. But when Shane says how's that going to affect the fishbowl, it's also going to affect the other job that you said you have. You said you run all these different leagues and everything. So do you guys have any kind of contingency for the people that have already paid money or what they're going to do or anything like that?
I'm sure it's all going to be refunded.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what it has to be. Because people are paying to enter a 2020 contest by the legal terms of it. They're entering a 2020 fantasy football contest. I'm sure it all has to get refunded. Wow. There's really no contingency. It's really, that's what it is. They entered a contest that is not going to, not going to happen.
Well, so think of the bright side, Scott. If a bunch of people die from the coronavirus,
oh my God,
that bought in your leagues, then you guys get to keep that money because they're dead.
That is not a bright side, and that's not a very nice thing to think about. So
I'm a pragmatist. I'm just saying.
You want to know how insane this, like, what everything I do from Fishbowl to Fantasy Cares to this it's all super by the book and legal. It's insane that these fantasy leagues that I run, they actually have an inheritance clause.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Wow, man. Not surprised, I guess.
Shane's mind just got...
I know. I saw him put his hand on his head.
My kids are going to get my money.
No, my kids don't even like sports.
Yeah,
so they're not getting my fantasy team.
So, but you do have to invoke it, meaning like before you die, you have to be like, this is who inherits my team in this league. If I, so...
you name your last
nobody has done it yet though, so
it's pretty funny. We've talked about my home league is a dynasty league, and I've been playing with the same guys for 20 years. We have a joke line in the rules about inheritance and what you do with your team if you die or something like that. Give it down to your kids.
Crazy guys.
It was funny when you were 30, not so much when you're 70 now.
I know.
The risk is real.
I'm closer now.
Let's talk to Scott about happy stuff, because now I'm depressed and want to cry.
Well, wait, one last thing I wanted to ask him, because he mentioned it. What is Fantasy Cares doing anything right now for all that, or is it just because you mentioned Fantasy Cares? I didn't know if you guys had any programs going on right now.
The Fantasy Cares donation portal is closed right now because I'm working with a possible another option that's cheaper than the PayPal fees that we have to pay.
Okay.
But we are doing some things out there. Sal Lito is going to run this podathon this I believe it's this upcoming weekend to help raise money. John Bosch is running some leagues that is raising money for Go Pantry, all that under the Fantasy Cares branding there.
Oh, that's great. Jeremy, on the show sheet, you said Madman has a question to ask Scott. So what was your question?
Well, I wanted to ask the Dad of Devy, since
boy.
the pioneer days, back in the old days when you and your friends started Devy leagues and kind of, formally launched that kind of thing before it was, well known and prominent. Like, tell us a little bit about that, and then also lead into how things have changed since then. Like, what can you tell us?
Oof. The biggest change is scouting. Well, first off, I always like to say and that even though I started doing Devy in 98, 99, I am fully aware that there are probably like home leagues out there that did Devy before that, like a guy in some
maybe,
state. I'm sure, absolutely.
Like-minded guys, yeah.
I will say, I can say almost with complete certainty I'm the first guy that ever had a Devy article or Devy rankings or a Devy podcast out there, though.
Oh, that's cool.
Because we're talking, 13 years ago on that. As far as Devy goes, I think Scout came around about 2003, 2004. So then you finally got these like high school coming out of college rankings, or coming out of high school, coming into college rankings on players and stuff like that was helpful for Devy. But before like 2010, it was just tough. Just finding videos on just even college videos was tough. It's insane. Now it's just, you can get it everywhere. I think scouting is probably just knowing all these names is the hardest part. And in late 90s, early 2000s, it was what you saw on TV on Saturdays, and that was basically what you had to go off of.
That you did your own scouting, yeah.
Yeah. It's a very, very different field, and I love that it's grown into this big thing where there are people actually doing content for it out there, like tons of really, really good content. And I love when any kind of new niche grows to the point that other people can be passionate about it and get their voice heard out there and do work with it. It's just a beautiful thing.
That's cool.
Everybody can tell you're passionate about it. It's funny. You started doing Devy well before I started doing Dynasty. I feel like an idiot.
Oh man.
Yeah, I didn't even know Dynasty was a thing 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Devy. But Scott, I got to ask you a hard-hitting question here. Did you know that your name apparently is the Dad of Devy?
I did not know that. I've seen people in articles credit me with starting Devy, but I've never seen Dad of Devy before.
He's saying that because
anything better.
Yeah, he's saying that because Jeremy.
I'm such a dad in so many ways.
Jeremy said that at the beginning of the show. Jeremy said it at the beginning of the show, so Shane's not leaving him alone about it.
Man, I started playing Dynasty in '92. How ridiculous is that?
Wow. See,
I just got done with high school, man. I was still playing redraft. I thought that was I sucked at it too.
Wait, you were in high school in '92? Really?
Yeah. No, I was actually in college, but I'm just saying, like, I was like a young guy. Like I was just in college, my first couple years of college, and I was playing redraft sometimes when I had time. Maybe one team. I was still like the home league guy back then.
Yeah.
And I know we're all in the same age group. Mike and Scott and me. Shane's the baby. Shane's the baby.
Yeah, like Shane says, I'm the oldest. Yeah, I did.
The same age group as Moses.
How old are you, Shane?
I'm 41. I'm not young.
Oh,
he's old enough to know better. Let's say
40.
that.
Yeah. Oh, see,
Scott's younger than all of us.
So I'm 52. So there you go. I've been doing Dynasty for about 8 years, and then I did keeper leagues before that, but I had never heard of Dynasty. And then once I heard of it, that changed everything.
So, you know what, Scott? Since you're an old timer in this industry, obviously, and an old timer in general,
younger than you.
What? Stop it. So I don't know. What's your favorite, I guess, change to Dynasty football over the last decade and a half or so? Or even if it's recent?
There's a big gap there, decade and a half or recent.
Actually, I think my favorite change is a really old change. Actually, it probably happened about the same time is when we got away from the bonus scoring and got to different things like receptions or whatever. I'm not a big PPR fan anymore, but once we decided to try to start balancing the positions, I like that. But right at that same time, we started introducing flex spots.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite change. And it feels weird to say there was a time we did not use flex spots. We never even considered it for a while. So that might be my favorite change.
It's funny when you said that because, but bonus, especially like for commissioners and stuff, we used to have to add up all the yards. And then if somebody got 200 yards, they'd get a bonus or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was much better once you got
the newspapers.
Yeah, and we had the newspapers and stuff like that. But
bonuses were fun though. It was like playing pinball when you'd get like the extra ball, and you're like, I don't know, I was down 15 and I won by 130.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I had an 80-point touchdown. I don't know. It was a 20-point touchdown from the quarterback to the receiver in the fourth quarter.
It's so different for the people now because it's all digital. It's all online. Yeah. You see it instantaneously when it happens.
For people. Yeah, that's the thing. Convenient and just right there.
You know what Scott does, and maybe he could talk about it. Is he doesn't look at the scores either?
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, I don't. In fact, I was talking to at the most recent FSGA. Do you guys know who Tony Fernandez is? He's a developer for MFL. He used to work for CBS Sports. He's the guy who invented live scoring.
Oh wow!
Before him, live scoring didn't exist. And I'm like, for the longest time, I loved what you created. Now I don't even look at it.
I don't either. It's too
and his partners were like, his MFL cohorts were like, because of him, we have so much trouble.
That's so funny.
Like any kind of live scoring issue with any site, like that, like all these sites, their biggest issues is always the live scoring, and they're like, it's all your fault, Tony.
It's so funny to talk to people about it too, because some people are totally against it, don't look at it, and then other people look at it like to the second while they're watching football. You know.
By the way, that was, we said that in a loving, joking way to Tony. He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
Well, no, but it is funny though, because you can't enjoy watching football once you start looking at your fantasy scores. You just can't. I can't. Then everything I can't. Well, you know what? I think guys that are in less than, I'll say, 4 leagues, they can do it.
Yeah, but I'm in 16. All right, but we have 5 TV sets going, and we have a computer, and the computer underneath the 5 TVs run the live scoring the whole time. So when we have people over here, I just
like watching the games. I cannot look at the scoring.
Oh no, I love it.
It would just annoy me to no end.
We
Plus
watch
the kids
all
are running
of it.
around. I just watch football, and then I look at it later because it'd be a roller coaster ride.
But that's it, and that's part of the fun of it. But that's part of the fun of it for us. Yeah. You know, everybody has a different way of enjoying doing this, and for us, that's the way we enjoy.
Not enjoyable.
Well, but that's your opinion. You know, to other people it might be enjoyable.
I get that, buddy.
It's kind of like fantasy. Like there are so many different ways to play.
Exactly.
Really be too hard on people for a style they like, whether it be 1 QB or super flex or PPR or points per first down or half and half or watching TV on 5 screens or watching TV on 1 screen or like, man, we're all just having fun enjoying the same hobby.
That's it.
Not a half and half is something completely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, be careful. But no, it is a lot.
I'm sorry. Are you mad that points per first down hasn't really like taken off yet? Like it overwhelmed the industry?
I don't expect it to yet at all. It took forever just for game centers to get targets as a column.
Yeah.
That's when things take off, is when it becomes a column on the game center and your casual 90% of the industry fans start being like, oh, what's this? And they're like, oh, this is important. This should be an important thing in fantasy. Then maybe it'll take off. But until it's in game centers, I don't think it's going to take off.
You know what's cool? You with Scott Fishbowl, every year you change the rules. You come up with some different things in there. Like, how long ahead of time do you think about that, and do you figure it out? And is it a big? I mean, you create this thing with what 760 industry people in it and everything. Like, so how do you come up with the changes in the rules every year?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I usually take a full week and just test different scoring systems, go back 5 years worth of history to see how it's, because if you just look at 1 or 2 years, it's going to be a little tainted. But if it's steady over like 5 years, you realize that this is a scoring system that people could actually take and implement and have take it to their dynasty league and have it be similar for 5 years or whatever. But no, I usually spend a good week or so just tinkering with scoring, trying to think of something that would be unique. But I have like parameters which suck that this fishbowl gets talked about on radio and Sirius XM and podcasts and people do articles on it. So I can't have it be like 30 different points of, different variables or whatever that are changing. It has to be simple enough that you can explain it in 15 to 20, 30 seconds. Or a paragraph of an article, but it also has to be unique enough to keep everybody on their toes. Let me tell you, it's not an easy task every year.
Is it important to you to change it every year, though?
Yeah, it is. I don't want people to rest on their laurels of playing the year before or look at the data from the year before and just be like, okay, this is how all of this shaped out last year. I can look at that. There's something fun in that. I understand that, people play best balls and they research that data. Oh, this is the history on that. I want SFB to be something that an analyst that, you three, that Jamie Eisenberg, that Matthew Berry, all these guys have to look at and try to figure out each year right along with the fans that they're playing with.
That's pretty cool. And you also get celebrities in there too. I know this year I was in my division. We had James
Roday.
Yeah, he was in mine. But so do those guys come to you or do you seek them out? How did that happen?
James Roday. Let me see. How did James? Oh, Liz Loza is a friend of James Roday in real life.
Oh, okay.
And Liz, I don't remember if she texted me or called me or whatever. She's like, I think it was text. She said, could you get my friend James Roday wants to play? And I'm like, yeah, I watched every episode of Psych. That guy can play. but yeah, she simply asked. And I'm like, heck yeah. And it's no, there are, and I think that it's going to be this thing where more and more celebrities are going to play next year. I already have a short list of people I'm in contact with that might jump in the league.
That's cool.
That
I heard
is
a
cool.
rumor that Jason Bateman was really big into fantasy football. And I mean, everybody knows who he is. Watching him on TV and different movies.
Sure.
He's been around forever. Reach out to him. See if he'll
Yeah, we're going to send in our requests. When James Roday was in mine, my wife's favorite show was Cipes. So she thought that was so cool that I was in a division with
That's
James
awesome.
Roday. Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
I mean, like I know Scott Porter from Friday Night Lights is really into fantasy football. He played in a best ball league with me last year. I'll probably ask him. And Thomas Everett Scott is a big fan of the Living the Stream guys, and he follows me on Twitter, so I might shoot him a message. And Jerry Ferrara, Turtle from Entourage.
Yeah, Turtle.
He actually replied I was tagged in a thing about the fishbowl in a tweet with him, and he's like, yeah, get me in there. And I tried shooting him a message. He didn't respond.
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, I shot him a message. He said he'd play, and then nothing after that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Turtle, if you're listening, that's fucked up. You don't ignore Scott Fish.
That's mean, Turtle.
He's probably got like 2 million followers.
Oh my
I'm sure
God.
messages get lost.
And the Miz from WWE, he's big into fantasy. Get him. Then you'll get a lot of exposure.
Well, Eric Young
wrestler
plays.
guys.
Yeah, I saw Eric Young. Yeah.
If you listen to XM, I mean, every time they do, they I don't even remember what show's on there, but they always have like fantasy analysts versus like WWE wrestlers.
Yeah, the
all
Miz
types of
is
sport,
huge.
baseball players. We know baseball players that play. Just everyone in sports plays fantasy football. Scott's helping to make it grow to the complete mainstream, and we're all going to get to the point where we're like, pshaw, we don't play that.
Yeah, Scott's making the world smaller and a better place.
Yes, I like that.
And Scott, you've never considered putting trading into your into the Scott Fishbowl, right?
No, it would just be way too much to monitor, way too many issues with potential collusion or whatever.
Right.
Absolutely.
Even though there's like barely any prize money, and I might not even do prizes next year because it's all about bragging rights in this.
It seems like it. Stompy's definitely bragging.
Yeah.
Oh man, that guy went from geek to chic just by winning the Scott Fishbowl.
Oh man, he worked it. He really worked it after winning that.
He did what you should do, though. Like, if you win the Scott Fishbowl, you should be fucking crowing. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, I got lucky that. No, I won because I'm a goddamn fantasy football genius. And did you know I have a podcast? Check it out.
Saw me before and after.
Here's my SoundCloud.
Yeah, actually,
Exactly.
and that's funny. Actually, this year for the three of us coming in the Scott Fish Bowl, will be under the Dynasty Trades HQ podcast instead of the other division thing we used to be under.
That's very awesome.
I don't know. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I don't even usually know until like the final 3 weeks if I have any chance at the playoffs. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just like, I was lucky the thread I was in last year. Just that was a good thread.
Oh man,
our division, and they kept me updated. Like, hey, you're actually doing well, and I'm like, really? Awesome.
Yeah,
Very cool.
2 years ago, we had the best one because we had Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones, and that group was a great group. We all talked the whole time.
By the way, I'm so sad there's not going to be live events. We were going to have. I don't know if this is very publicly known, but I kind of put it in the form. But we were going to have live events all over the country. I talked to Jamie Eisenberg from CBS, and he was going to do one in Florida, and TJ Hernandez from 444, he was going to do one in California. We're going to have little live event pockets all over the country. Not going to happen now.
But so would you push it till next year then?
Yeah, we might. And people, I had someone joke on Twitter that it'll be Scott Fish Bowl 11, and that 11, you can really turn that into live. With the two ones looking in an L and I.
Oh my gosh! So
we
we
figure something out.
But yeah, we'll still have the 10.
We could still do the live one now. It's just everyone has to stand 6 feet away from each other.
Yeah, right.
It won't have the same feel.
And no more than groups of 10. So I mean, it'll have to spread out over a few acres.
Yeah,
that would have been awesome.
I know this is a trade pod. If there are people in safe leagues listening, don't protest trades. Just stop it.
Right.
It's so annoying.
What do you mean? What happens?
In our leagues, if 3 people protest a trade, I look into collusion for it, and we have a rule that if it hits the trade analyzer and it's more than 2.5 times, we will reverse it, which I hate, but we need something third party, and we need a firm line or something.
Yeah.
Just in case we can't prove collusion, which sucks. I hate it, but
But dynasty leagues, right? Specifically, you're talking about, man.
But I had someone protest one the other day that said, this is totally unfair, ruins the integrity of the league. I threw it in the trade analyzer, 409 to 405.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I think I saw one of your posts about how close they were.
I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know what the good side is here. And it's one of those that just it's very frustrating. And I actually deleted it because I put his exact quote on there. So I don't know if this guy follows me on Twitter, and I'm like, you know what, that feels weird just putting his exact quote, even though I didn't name him. So I pulled it.
Yeah. Yeah, awkward.
Now I want to talk about the trade polls and collusions, because I think there should never be a veto. I know Scott's pretty heavy on that side, but I mean, I understand in that situation where it's kind of, you do have to have someone watch out, because literally no one knows each other usually. But it's two guys might know each other in the league.
But also for him, it's like a company. It's like a business that they're running. It's not friendly league. So unfortunately, you have.
And he's got a level of integrity that he has to have even above us as commissioners of these random leagues that he must maintain.
Yeah, that sucks.
What So how? I'm sorry. Something comes down the steps. So how often would you say that you have to actually overturn trades? Like, how often? Is this like a daily occurrence for you?
No. Well, it gets. I'd say a trade gets protested every single week. And it's very frustrating because that's. I don't know where they're getting it. I get it. I mean, you see Twitter. There are actually people who believe in trade vetoes. You're casual. It's out there. But I probably get a trade protest. I've had 2 this week. We almost never overturn. I think in the history of our company, including before I was here, we've overturned maybe 2 or 3 trades, and I've only done 1 in the 3 years that I've run the company. Yeah. And that one was. I mean, it was so not even close that, like, I wish I could remember what it was, but it was so far off that I could not by any stretch justify it. And the trade analyzer was like 10 times to the one side. But I thought it was an accident.
But you get a complaint. You get a complaint almost every single week.
Yeah, I've had 2 this week.
Holy crap!
Well, I mean, a lot of people getting jealous that that somebody got a good deal. That's the thing I see the most is that people are you're just pissed that you didn't pull that deal off. You didn't think to ask the person. You didn't get the winning proceeds in that trade. I've rarely seen true collusion in all the leagues I've been in. I know it happens. I've heard stories and. Maybe we've experienced it too, but mostly it just seems like people that get bent out of shape because they weren't part of the great deal that was made.
Yeah. And that's the integrity of the league thing. You hear these people talking about this ruins the integrity of the league when they try to protest how bad a trade is. This is just going to ruin the league. I was telling Ryan this on Commission Impossible just the other day, just last week's episode actually, that I've seen tens of thousands of trades. I've run thousands of leagues. I have never not once seen a trade ruin the integrity of the league.
Exactly.
And I checked through the 4 that were protested last year that they claimed integrity of the league. The person who benefited didn't win the league. one of them, they didn't even make the playoffs.
I'm
like,
nice. I would like that though. If someone could actually, because we'll bring that up all the time when we talk to people and they're like, oh no, you have to have trade vetoes because blah, blah, blah. And I always tell them, well, that's a bad owner thing because that's what it comes down to usually. Mm-hmm. But I would love for someone just to share with me a story of how a league completely collapsed after a trade. Like where death threats were hurled and then the league disbanded and just once.
I will say you do see occasionally a bad trade lead to a person leaving a league. Yeah. Not the league dying, but a person leaving a league because they're so butthurt, but that's about it.
It's more like a buzzword to use. Jeremy, you had a question that you wanted to ask Scott.
Well, yeah, I know we're going to talk about trades, and I don't want to take up a ton of time, but one of the things I wanted you to talk about because of our listeners in dynasty leagues and, startups, and now, man, I think we might have a record-setting year in startups with what's going on now. I'm not sure, but
we do. I have data.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. So is it really ahead of the curve then? That wasn't my question, but that's awesome.
I filled 33 startups last March. And this March, I've already filled 53, and I have 8 more filling that'll likely. I'll probably hit 60 or 70 startups I've filled double. This March. Yeah.
Wow,
double the startups.
Wow, that's awesome.
Year.
Everybody's home.
yeah, and it's a great site. But the reason I wanted to ask you this question is all of those startups happening, people setting up leagues and trying to figure out how they want to construct them. And there's so many debates, how do we set up scoring? What would be some of your baseline advice to somebody that, wants to set up a great sort of long-lasting dynasty league? What would you, in your experience, tell them to think about, consider, and maybe build into their league right off the bat so that they could look to having a fun league for a long time?
Wow. You did not go where I thought you were going to go with that. But I'm gonna wrap in where I thought you were going to go with that.
Okay, that's fair.
So he's going to answer it the way he wants
with
to.
So many people doing with so many people, under quarantine and doing these startups just to kill time. I think there's a big concern out there in the industry that a lot of people will be dropping leagues after this year, that they're overcommitting because they just need something to do right now. So if I'm going to, recommend something to start a league to have it be fun and long term, I think the first thing is you probably need to get them to pay 2 years up front, or definitely have something in place for paying for that second year.
Definitely.
A deposit, or if you trade future picks, you have to pay for the second year. Both Ryan and I do that in our leagues. I don't do it in the pigs leagues because 90% of those guys are trustworthy owners, and I don't have trouble replacing the owners in those leagues, so I don't. But that's probably step one. I think the easiest way to get a long-term league going, I think, is to create. There are 2 great ways to create a dynasty. Either you create the rule set you want to play with and you're going to love commissioning for a long time, and you find people who want to play in those settings. So you've got all that like-minded, or you collaborate with a group and you all form together in settings you want. And then you feel, if you're collaborating that whole time, you feel like this connection, this bond. Those are probably the 2 strongest ways to start a dynasty league, I would say right now. Maybe ever, really. That's probably where I'd go with that.
Yeah, I like what you said about people kind of getting together and talking about how they want the rules and scoring to be, so you don't have so much squawking afterward from people that you bring in and voting to change things. You have a lot of you kind of have the benchmarks in place for a good league early, and maybe you tweak things, but you won't have so many changes to make. I mean, it just
good
makes
bylaws too. Good
strong ones. Yeah,
strong bylaws is always a very good thing.
John Bosch is always, any leagues I was ever in of his, he'd always end up sending me the bylaws repeatedly or sending me screenshots of them because I never understood the rules. I'm like one of the terrible owners that never reads any of the rules. I know the highlights, but then when people will be like, Shane, did you know you have to do this? Oh, no, really? That's why I like Scott's Pigs Leagues.
Right.
You can go in the Voxer and just, everybody's in there. There's like
Anything
4,000 people.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fun. I'm not in the Voxers. I deleted Voxer off my phone because I found myself spending so much time on there. But those Voxer chats they're pretty intense.
And Scott's being modest. The reason he doesn't have to get 2 years up front is because I'd say probably 80% of the people in his leagues were just excited as hell to actually get into Pigs Leagues and wasn't even less of a life event.
It's true. I finally got into Pigs 1. I was a few years trying. I finally got in. I actually had a personal celebration. I was like, man, this is great. I got it. And of course, I haven't made hardly any moves yet. I'm trying to figure out the bylaws, and they're trying to figure out how. I'm like, there are a lot of moving parts. I'm gonna have to take this slow.
How many Pigs leagues are there?
There are only 3.
Oh, okay.
I considered making more each year, but I've been overwhelmed by real work a lot of times. And I'm like, I just can't do it this year.
Yeah.
Shane, you were about to say
I'm
something?
in the year 3 of Pigs 3, and don't tell Scott. I don't know a lot of the rules still.
He knows I can hear it. Right?
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
And most people already know, Shane, that you don't know the rules. You jump into all these leagues, and then halfway through, you go, "Oh, wait, that's one of the rules." Even in our
Superflex,
even in our listener league, in the second year of the HQ1, he was complaining about a rule that we've had since day one.
I still blame you because Scott.
that's easy to do.
Scott emails you, and that way you don't even have to be smart or remember things because you're just like, as long as I know that you open an email from Scott, I know what's going on with the league.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I had
thing
to
about
email.
being a commissioner is being communicative and responsive. and
Oh my God,
that's a big deal. But Pigs Leagues are made for you, Shane. You don't have to participate in anything you don't want to. You can just sit back and save money if you want to.
Like we had the Devy draft. I know we had the Devy draft where we nominated people. I have like $4. I had like negative money. In fact,
I remember.
Scott. I had Scott money from the rival. I can't say the word from our versus game. And, whatever. I can't say it today. And I basically owed him $10 until he gave me back some Pigs money after the season. He didn't charge me any interest on it, so it was good.
Well, that's good.
Well, we talked about it earlier about that we have some trades that we'd like to go over with you, but maybe since we've talked this long, we'll save the trades for the Patreon show. Would you have some time to join us on the Patreon show and go over some of these trades? Great.
Sure.
Well, then, if we're going to do that, Shane, Jeremy, do you guys have any other questions, last-minute questions you want to ask him before we do that? And then we'll wrap everything up and we'll do the trades in the Patreon.
And I have a million questions. I'll let Shane go first.
I got a big question. Is Tyler Gunther your illegitimate son?
No, he's not. He lives about 2 hours from me, though. I know that. He's in Minnesota. I've met him a couple times in person. But I get that. Is it the red beard? Is that what
it's the red? Yeah, you're both gingers. And because you're both from the Manitoba.
It's Canada. We live up here. Canada.
You guys are basically Canadian, so you're super nice. So I just assume you're the same.
On up there.
Okay, so that's Shane's question. How about you, Jeremy?
Anything to spruce up dynasty scoring? I know we talked about the point per first down and things like that. What would you tweak if you had your druthers and your regular PPR sort of standard 12-team leagues? What would you do? What one thing would you do to make those leagues better, improve their scoring, and whatever?
Are you talking about in a new startup? Because it's really tough to change things once the dynasty gets going.
But thinking of the baselines that we typically do in most of these 12-team PPR leagues.
If I'm starting any new league, it's super flex. It's probably half PPR, half first down, just because that balances well. Rotoviz actually did an article about how it's based on SFB 8, how it's been statistically extremely balanced for about 6 years. So
Cool.
PPR and then first down, a strong tight end premium. I don't believe 1.5 is strong enough. I think you got to go at least 2. In mine, I do double what wide receivers get for PPR and first down, but a strong tight end premium. Definitely not 2 tight end. I can go over that anytime you want.
Yeah, buddy. That's my least favorite thing of all time.
I actually did research on it a few years back, and I looked over 30 plus 2 tight end leagues. And every year of those 2 tight end leagues, if you did not have a top 3 tight end, guess how many times the top of a team with the top 3 tight end won?
Every time?
Every single one.
There you go. Every time. It would have to be if you're the way you said the question.
Speaking my language.
Yeah, the way you said the question.
Because when you have that many teams, you can't stream tight ends to make up for a tight end for a top 3 tight end. And we all know historically top 3 tight ends. There's been like a trilogy of top 3 tight ends for several years now. Yeah. There wasn't a single instance. Basically, I say if you're in a 2 tight end league and it's week 6 and you realize you don't have a top 3 tight end, start rebuilding.
Start already. Yeah.
With your scoring thing, one of the things that killed me when the Scott Fish was the way you did the interceptions for quarterbacks. Because I had Jameis, and that killed me in Scott Fish.
30 interceptions.
Oh man! So that is just on 2 tight end. I believe it's the most detrimental setting I have found in all my years of working scoring.
Definitely.
Thank you, Scott Fish, for saying that, because I don't have that data, but it's my least favorite thing ever in a league. I've been in all kinds of settings. That is my all-time least favorite.
I guess I'd be fine with it if you're in like an 8-team or a 10-team league, but you go 12 and up.
It's funny. I'm in a 14-team league that is 2 tight end, and I just did a big trade to get George Kittle because I didn't have any tight end, so I did a trade for that. But
amazing that someone traded him.
It was crazy, but I gave up a lot. But
Who was it? Can we make fun of him?
No, but we'll talk about some trades in the Patreon show. But so for me, my last question for you, Scott, is let's just say we don't lose football this year and everything goes forward. How can people get into Scott Fish 10 this year? What do they have to do to be able to get into it?
Sign up on the site. That's all I tell people every year. I have big plans for it, and I might have to change those plans because we're not going to have the live events. I might have to do something special, but just sign up on scottfishbowl.com. Back to the last question, though, the quarterback settings. 6-point passing, -4 interceptions.
Yes, that killed me.
James Coe has done an article on it. Zach Boehner's done an article on it. Addison Hayes did a tweet thread on it. I've done work on it. It's a good way to separate the quarterback tiers. So I would also add that. But just go to scottfishbowl.com, sign up. I'm gonna give a bunch of spots to a bunch of different podcasts and whatnot to give out too. So be on the lookout for podcasts giving away spots.
Cool. Yeah.
Hey, we want to give one away.
Yeah, we want to definitely give one away.
I'll give away if you were thinking about giving Blitz a spot this year. I'll give it away.
We'll get this away.
Hey! No, don't give my spot away. I love. Listen, what?
Don't you want to see the face, someone's face, the first time they make the Scott Fish Bowl?
Well, sure, and he's going to give us one we can give away. I don't have to give away my spot.
Sign your hoodie and give that to him too. Let him wear that.
Listen, if I can get a hoodie,
that first wave of invites is like my favorite day of the year.
Oh, it's so cool! It was so cool getting one and then reading all the people that get them. It is pretty awesome, It's amazing what you've created. It really is. So, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for hanging out with us to go into the Patreon. We'll just have you tell people where to find you, and then we'll wrap everything up, and then we'll do the Patreon.
Scottfish24 on Twitter, scottfishbowl.com to sign up to try to play in the Scott Fish Bowl. I think we have like 5,000 or 6,000 people signed up already, but sign up anyway, because you never know.
Wow.
And safeleaguesfantasy.com is where you can sign up to be in a fun dynasty or redraft league. I'm adding some unique styles. I just added a 1 to 128 today, where you It's a 32-team league where you draft a team quarterback, a team running back, a team wide receiver, and a team tight end, and it's best ball and just a simple, quick 4-round draft. I got fun stuff up on there, but that's where you can find my stuff.
That's really cool. And then for us, obviously, you can find us at DynastyTradesHQ on Twitter and on iTunes, Patreon, Spotify, all those places, DynastyTradesHQ. And we're going to do a Patreon show. So you guys want to say goodbye?
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.
I'm just going to say the same thing I always say. If you're not a patron, you should become one, because we have jovial times and we provide more content to those women and men, and we salute you. And now we're going to go do a patron episode with Scott Fish. And if you're not a patron, you don't get to hear it. So suck it.
Say goodbye, Shane.
Bye.
Suck it. Oh, my God.